Many thanks for staying tuned. It's still the conversation here on Lagos Television, and today we're taking a look at a gender-sensitive issue. And unfortunately, I'm the only woman in the midst of these two men that we'll be talking about something that concerns the women today, because we'll be taking a look at something very germane. And of course, the first question I will be asking our guest when we meet him is, why is he amplifying issues of women? Of course, our guest today is a multiple award-winning scholar, an exceptionally innovative leader, a social change maker, and entrepreneur. He's also a youth ambassador and executive director of Special Children Advocacy. He's currently serving as the United Nations SDSN-Youth Regional Officer for Africa. It's our pleasure this morning to welcome Obadare Adenekan. Thank you for being here on the program today. So, like I said, why are you particular about this topic, the need for us to amplify the voices of women or the chances of women at political participation?
Okay, thank you very much. I think generally we need to understand that Nigeria's population in itself comprises of half women, half men.
No, usually it's half. Or it's not even.
Women are not
half.
exactly, even more. And so, seeing a situation whereby men solely are the ones that take most of the decisions that even concerns the woman is in itself concerning. So the first thing why we should be looking at amplifying women's voices is because they also have needs, and sometimes we might not even, the decisions that we are taking might be geared towards a men's mentality, how a man perceives that thing to be. However, by amplifying a woman's voice, we would be able to include everything that has to do with them, everything that might have been overlooked by the men that are making the laws or that are taking certain critical decisions. So that is why it's very critical for us to have this kind of discussions and amplifying women's voices.
Okay, when you look at the business of politics in Nigeria, it is clear that men are the one calling the shots, dictating the pace, and without these women, when it comes to voting, you can hardly thrive as a politician without women, because they are the ones that attain the campaign grounds the most, and of course, indicating their support for men. So why is it difficult for men to allow women to at least take certain leadership position when it comes to politics? Is it a cultural problem or a psychological problem?
All right, I think we might have to look at it in two ways. First of all, the cultural aspect is also there, as well as, so the special seats bill that was initially drafted was rejected by the House because it came off as if they wanted to displace the men in the parliament. And I think that is, first of all, one fear that is there, that, oh, we giving women seats would now eventually lead to women taking over the parliament, the House of Rep and everything, right? That is one. And then secondly, the cultural aspect. Nigeria in itself has religions that people believe women should always be at the back. So seeing a woman at the front or seeing a woman wanting to be at the front is something that is new to some persons. And they are finding so much difficulty adapting to this change, adapting to the fact that we are in the 21st century. In the 21st century where we just have to begin to give women this platform to also take critical decisions.
Okay. Dari, let's come to the facts. That, I mean, we're talking about the facts that, okay, there's a need to amplify women's voices. And sometimes you also have it at the back of your minds that power isn't served a la carte. You have to fight for it. So is this the time for, while also advocating that there should be more women participation in politics, is it also the time to start letting the women know that you also have to be equipped for some of those things we're asking for, and it is not going to come on a platter of gold? So as much as we're saying, let's amplify the voices of the women, are we also getting it into the subconscious of the women that there might also be a need to fight for all of these things that we're asking for?
Okay. Well, I think that should also be a critical conversation and something that we ought to also push out there to the women. However, in terms of fighting, I think we should rewind it a little bit back, still down to the cultural aspects. if a young girl that is growing up knows that she's not supposed to be in the kitchen, and even when she finally, gets into an institution, she understands that there is no limitation at all. All of these barriers are in a way cleared, or if not even entirely cleared, they are being taught. Their growth is being about taking leadership position. There's an intentionality behind it.
Right.
I think the fighting aspects would come easily because they won't even be fighting for it. They would be taking it by understanding that this is their right. It's not that they are being given to it on a platter of gold. They would understand that this is their right and something that they ought to do.
So, so as much as we are rewinding, like you've said, so where exactly are we starting from in the amplification of these voices? Are we taking it back from the very basics, which will be from the very beginning, to begin to let the girl child know that it is not just about, the kitchen. It is not just about your atmosphere or your immediate environment. You can be what you want to be. So is this right from, that tender age that we need to now start, teaching the girl child that, you can be who you want to be, either in politics or whatever it is you want to be in life? Or is this concentration going to start with the women who are formed already and who have a career already or wanting to veer into politics?
All right. Nigeria in itself comprises of religion and tradition, which I think are two things that kind of drives Nigeria generally, drives our morals and everything. I think we need to start from that point. There needs to be collaboration with traditional leaders and religious leaders so that they would begin to incorporate things like this into things that they are teaching and things that they are pushing out there to their audience.
Okay.
Because, I know of some communities right now that have started giving women the opportunity to take up leadership positions.
Okay. At the community
Yes,
level.
at the community level. So I think if we can increase our efforts in this regard, collaborate more with religious leaders, traditional leaders, I think this is a point that we can start from.
Okay.
And as much as we are starting from that point, we also need to include the educational aspect. And I think that is where I am so happy about the fact that Lagos State is already doing quite a lot.
Right.
Even for the youth, they are having empowerment programs where they are pushing women to the front and saying, you can do this, this is your right. Don't be scared to take up this leadership position. So that is also another point that we can start from, where, creating empowerment programs and making them see beyond what they've always seen, making the young women see beyond what they've always seen.
Okay, my next question will be coming from the angle of Abimbola. She did say earlier that shouldn't women fight for their role? If you look at the present National Assembly, especially the Senate, women have been trying their efforts to amplify their voices, but the kind of treatment they are getting from the leadership of the Senate is not encouraging. Why is this happening?
Well, I think...
because that is where the laws are made. So
yes,
if you
yes.
cannot allow women to speak, then what will be the impression of others out there?
Yes.
Those generations that you're trying to form or
Yes.
mold to be better than you.
Yes, I think my take on that would be that, first of all, women need to see men as not a competition, but persons that would actually help them in achieving their goals faster. I'm saying not as a competition because, first of all, the Senate is
Are we
already...
not the ones seeing women as our competition? Because when you look at the treatment that the likes of Iriti and what's the name, Natasha,
Yeah.
the kind of treatment they are getting from the leadership of the Senate is not encouraging. They want to speak, you shut them down.
Well,
We were all elected.
Yeah. That is why I'm just hoping that this special seat bill is passed. Because once it is passed, we know that at the least, at the minimum, we have 30% representation of women in the Senate. And that alone would begin, even if it would be a gradual step, I know that eventually they would be able to, they would have more. If we have just, let's say, 3 women out of 100 senators, that alone would not even give them enough confidence to want to speak. And then when they eventually speak, because men are dominated everywhere, it would seem like the points that they are raising is not really germane, because, there are no other women that are seeing things from their perspective. So I think we still need to just hope that this special seat bill is passed. And when it is eventually passed, I am hopeful, and I'm hopeful that there will be changes. There will be changes in terms of they being able to speak on certain issues.
So, as much as you're canvassing or looking forward to the special state bill being passed, of course, at the moment it has passed the second reading, and we do hope that it's not going to be thrown away again this time, with the bath water. But then, on a yearly basis, it seems like there's a decline in the numbers of women who are elected to elected positions at the Senate and the House of Representatives. Are you of the opinion that if, eventually if the special state bill was to be passed, will this have an effect on the number of women representatives that we do have at this higher chambers, not to talk of the state assemblies where the numbers are, again, dwindling? I know at the state assembly, Lagos State, we have 3 or 4 women lawmakers at the moment. I'm not sure they're up to 6, but are they up to 6? If you were to do a head count, I think they're about 4. Yeah. I think they're about 4, and 4 out of 40. That's not even a quarter. So are you optimistic that if, peradventure, at the end of the day, the special state bill gets passed, will this in any way affect the number of women representatives that we have, especially as lawmakers?
Oh, yes. I believe that it would definitely.
Why do you believe it will?
Well, because we have instances of countries that have taken this kind of drastic step and has eventually gone on to increase the participatory activities of women, whether in politics or in the parliament, in the Senate. Right. We can take Rwanda, for instance. They started with a 30% benchmark for women. And at the moment, we have over 61% of women that have taken over the parliament. So I think once this bill is passed, first of all, it will serve as an encouragement for more women to want to delve and put in their efforts to ensure that they get in. And then secondly, women already know that, yes, there is an automatic slot for them, and that just automatically increases the number of women that we would have in the parliament.
But the automatic slot, wouldn't that also at some point work against the women? Because in trying to fill automatic slots, you may end up not putting the right pegs in the right holes.
And that is why we also, critics have raised this kind of fear, yes. Right. But I think that is why it is very important for the best of the best to be selected, at least for a start, the best of the best. We need to be very critical in those that would be going to the front and represent, so that they won't eventually get there and make a mess of everything. Yeah. And then to be like, there will not be a narrative out there that
we told you.
We gave women the platform and then see what you guys did with it. Right. So I think it's just important for us to be careful and critical about who we are selecting to go represent the women.
Oh, okay, we keep referring to ourselves as the giants of Africa. Yeah. And in the corporate sector in Nigeria, we have seen women break barriers, set the pace. But when it comes to politics, it's a different ball game. We read a particular piece in the Punch this morning. Yeah. The writer is calling on Mr. President to appoint a woman as the INEC chairman after the tenure of Professor Mahmoud. And of course, Ghana had its election recently. Yes. And a female elected as vice president. Namibia now, they have a female president. Yes. If indeed we are the giant of Africa, shouldn't this be a sort of concern for our men?
Yes, it should be a very concerning issue, as a matter of fact. But again, I was reading an article. I was in a conversation last week, and then I was seeing the statistics of where Nigeria currently lies. We lie just very, very low. Out of, let's say, 156 countries, we are top 5 or so from the ground. It's very concerning.
The bottom of the pyramid.
And some of these countries that we are fighting positions with in terms of women's representation do not even have political, election and all of that. So I just generally believe that we need to do better in Nigeria. As much as we are saying we need to do better, I do understand that it's not a day job. It's something that would be a gradual process. And this special seats bill is the first step to many other wonderful things that we can see that would happen subsequently in Nigeria. So I think this is even a starting point, and it's a good starting point. I'm
glad you did mention that it's not going to be a day's job. Yeah. And no matter how much we try to run away from it, Nigeria is still largely a patriarchal society.
Yes.
And we're trying as much as possible to break the barriers and have more men buying in this project? Also, where will the issue of equity and equality stand? Because there have also been fears that if women are equal, there's going to be a problem. And so some are saying, you know what, preach for equity rather than equality. And the women are saying either equity, either equality. Just let us be there. We can be at par. We do not have to compete. We can complement. So how do we begin to put this, let this also be at the back of, you know, this campaign, that it is not about the equity or about the equality. It is about the equal opportunities that should be available. So if a man has that opportunity, as a woman, should it be a positive or a negative for me? So how do we play that balance out, especially in a society where we're still having it so difficult to break through?
All right. I think over the years, people have argued that giving women a seat, by creating a special seats bill, is like a bias on the men's part. But we need to understand that over the years, what we should be, you know, gearing all our efforts towards is equality. Okay. Meaning, because an intelligent woman and an intelligent man, they are not lesser than each other. Right. You can't say because of you are a man and then the society has made you think you are superior, and so a woman automatically is inferior.
Comes out under you.
To you. I mean, that is a very very scary mentality. So we need to understand that equality in itself is what we should be gearing towards, so that there can be equal opportunity, as you said. However, over the years, women have said we need equality. And this is not something that should even be said. It is something that should be done. As a result of their request not being met, as a result of nobody willing to listen to them or even give them the audience, that is why the special seats bill is now saying, let there be equity. Give them that seat first. Then subsequently, we can now say when we have a sufficient amount of women's representation, we can now say, okay, now let us look at how we can make it equal.
50-50.
50-50. But for now, we need to get them in there. That is how we can break the barriers.
Okay. As much as you have identified certain factors, cultural, political, hindering women from attaining certain political level in the country, people have also said it's a different fora that women are the enemies of themselves. If a woman should come out now, you hardly find another woman supporting her to achieve whatever she set out to achieve. So how can women themselves begin to solve that internal problem before they now tackle that of men?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, what you just said, I still heard of it last week, if I'm not wrong. And I think my take on that should just be, we should, whether men, whether women, those that we support, we support. Yeah. Those that won't support. So I don't think we should try to create, a stereotype that as far as you're a woman, other women won't support you. I don't think that would really work that way. And then secondly, we need to try as much as possible to create a mentorship program where women that are already taking this leadership position can begin to mentor the young women that are coming up, so that they know that, okay, these are steps that I need to take. I don't just need to rush into this way. If not, it won't work out. So we also need to create a mentorship system, which is something that at Africa, again, I'm working as the UN SDSN-Youth Regional Officer for Africa. So that's one thing. And my job description is to oversee SDG coordinators in universities, codes across South Africa, West Africa, East Africa, and North Africa. So we are trying to create a program where we would pair not just women now, but generally those SDG coordinators with mentors, whether in governance or any sector of their choosing. And subsequently, we are looking forward to a prospect of we getting more women representation, because even with the SDG coordinators, we have more women than the men. Okay. So this would also create a platform for the younger women to know what they are going for and to properly prepare them for what's ahead. Okay.
Let's quickly go back to the special sets, which I know that is also one of your passion, and one of the recommendations of that particular bill is to create one additional legislative seat to be contested by women only for each state. So if that scales through, that means that automatically there will be 36 women,
Yes.
you know, at the legislative. And it means that also, that is including the Federal Capital Territory, which will total 74 seats. It further proposes 3 special seats for women each at the 36 states houses of assembly, totaling 108 women. And the bill has been referred to the Committee on Constitution Review for further legislative action. Now that the bill, you know, has been passed to the committee saddled with the responsibility of a constitution review, are you optimistic that, you know, this will work? Because automatically, if we're adding one more seat, so at the moment we have 4 women senators, only 4 women senators, and we have 16 members of the House of Representatives. That is not all-time low at the moment. So if, you know, this proposition scales through, so that means that, give or take, at every election, you're guaranteed that you will have 74 women at the legislative house. Is this a good way to start, a good place to start from? If at least you know that one seat in each state is cleared for women, give it all. It doesn't matter the party now. A woman will definitely get that seat. Is this also not going to be a burden, even at the time we're calling for the cost of governance, and then we're proposing such a thing to come on board? As much as we're saying more women voices, amplifying more women voices, is this also not going to be at the detriment of cutting the cost of governance?
All right. I said that I was at the conversation last week, and it was a town hall meeting where we were speaking basically on the special seats bill, and they had done, you know, the estimate of the costs that it would potentially amount to, and we realized that it won't even be much as what people are thinking, or as much as what people are saying that it would be. It's still going to be low. As much as it won't be that high, it will still be moderate, at moderate level. And I think it is worth it at the long run, because subsequently, when we have not just men that dominate or that have the upper hand in the legislative, we also have women there. There will be fresh ideas. There will be fresh ideas on how to run the economy, on how to take up new things, new initiatives that would, I would say, in a way, cover up back for that cost, that would, you know, meet up that cost back. So it's a very
so you
great
think
way to...
it's going to be a way to...
It's a very great way to start. It's justifiable.
Spending that money.
Yes.
Okay, beyond those legislative seats now, what are your aspirations or hope for the year 2027 elections? You know, I doubt if we ever had any... Okay, I think it was in Anambra that we had... I've forgotten her name now.
Yes.
As female governor. When you count the number of female deputy governors that we even have in the country, they are so few. So are you hopeful that things are likely to change come 2027 with this agenda that we're amplifying already at the National Assembly?
Yes, I am absolutely hopeful. I am really hopeful that that a lot of things will drastically change come 2027 election. Not just women's representation, but that quite a number of younger women would see that this is a right. Personally, I feel like some women, I won't say so many women, some women have always seen this thing as it is a man's thing. Politics is for men. What are you looking for there? Because there's just like a stereotypic thinking as regards that. So come 2027, I am very, very sure that women would take the bull by its horns and launch into politics fully. And I'm very hopeful that the economy of Nigeria and so many other things will drastically change for good.
I love the fact that you raised the economy, because politics is very, very expensive.
Yes.
And Abimbola and I said at the beginning of the program that politics is rough.
Yes, it is.
So what kind of support should women get from home? Because if you want to contest as a senator or House of Reps member, and your husband is saying no, you can't be attending night meetings.
Right.
Yes. What
can the woman do in that case?
Well, this still boils down to
to the society.
To the society. Yes. It still boils down to the society, and why we need to begin to change why there needs to be a mentality shift in terms of people believing that women are just supposed to be at the house or at the home, or are not supposed to do certain things, are supposed to do certain things, and then there is just a very large limitations on what they can and cannot do. So I think it still boils down to the social aspect. We really need to begin to push these things out, and that was why I said that there needs to be a collaboration with religious and traditional leaders so that they begin to see that women are not just tools that we can use for some time and drop. No, they should have. And while we're having the conversation last week, I remember one of the speakers was saying something as regards the fact that women are saying they want these positions does not mean they will be rude to their husband. It does not mean they would
They'll be disrespectful.
Which is something I believe some men still hold on to.
So why are the men afraid?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's a new thing coming to them, and maybe they are finding difficulty coming into the reality of the fact that, I mean, it's just what it is. We need to give the women a platform.
Okay, before we allow you to go, I'll go back to what happened on the floor of the National Assembly when this bill came up for second reading before it was committed, so that you can also address this. Some lawmakers argued that the bill was undemocratic and discriminatory to men. They also expressed the view that candidates should be chosen solely on their merit rather than their gender, and that women should mobilize to vote for women. So 3 things here: the bill is undemocratic, discriminatory, and candidates should be chosen solely on merit and not gender. Can you address those concerns?
Yes. All right. So, to be very honest, I've also been having these thoughts because I definitely would not want a situation whereby any man would hold it over a woman's head. You are here because we gave you a slot, nothing else. So I think subsequently, first of all, we need to just irrespective of what has been said, we need to understand that at the least, let the women get there first. Once they get there, we can now say, okay, out of the 4 representatives from each state, we already know that one through the special state bill is for women. Right. We can then say another one would be permanently for men, and then the 2 can be contested for. Okay. So that it won't be...
so there's balance.
There's balance. Okay. Because maybe they are being scared of what has happened in Rwanda, whereby the women started from 30% and now are at 61%. So maybe they are scared of that.
Women may take over.
They should not get to 80% representation and then the men 20%. Yes, that is a genuine fear, and it's normal for them to think in that direction. Okay, however, for a start, we need to at least get the women there. Then we can begin to have other conversations towards, okay, how can we sustain this thing such that there won't be a gender imbalance again, and then we begin to start saying, oh, how can we address this? The women are more than the men. Yes, then how can we address it? So I think that should be a sustainability thing that we can think of in the future. But now, as at now, we need to ensure that the women have a seat at the table. We need to, that should be our focus, because over the years they've been saying, we want equality, give us this thing. And they are not even asking for this equality because of, for a selfish reason. They are asking for this thing because they want to be a part of the decision makers, so that they know what is going on. They will just wake up one morning and see that, oh, a decision has been made on their behalf, and then it's not something that really works for them. So, for now, at the least, let us get them in there. Then subsequently, we can have other conversations.
Okay, I know that some political parties are already treating them well, like the APC during the last election. What the women paid was not what the men paid for their nomination forms. And I think some even got the forms free.
Is that, are you also looking into such, an initiative where political parties will also do some kind of waiver for the women? So, because again, when you also lower the bars, then you can't complain. Isn't that it?
That is very true. However,
will that make them feel inferior?
No. We need to first of all say it from this angle. We need to understand that first of all, at the moment, women do not have enough financial backing to participate in politics.
Okay.
So if they are subsidizing the fee, I don't think it should be seen as because
You're
they are
doing a
weaker
favor.
or you are doing them a favor. It should be seen as a result of they not having enough backing like the men have at the moment.
So maybe instead of saying that you're giving the women a waiver, then you can crush the price.
That's
of,
the thing. Crash
and
it
then-
generally so
okay.
that they
Can-
would be
can
able to
affordable.
pay. They would afford it. So it won't be something that someone
So it's not going to be like a
come up.
favor.
Yes, we are doing you a favor to get in there. No.
Okay.
Yes.
What will be your final words to women this morning who are watching, who are scared to take the plunge, who are not sure that indeed politics is for them, but who have a passion for service, who'd like to serve not only their fatherland, but also their communities, perhaps start at the community level, which is probably vying for the post of a chairman of a local government council area?
All right. What I would say is Nigeria is not just for the men. And Nigeria, if anything should go wrong, it falls back on all of us, not just the men. So you need to understand that if you do not take up these positions, if you do not push for things like this to happen, over time, decisions upon decisions will be made on your behalf, and then you will just realize that things might just be going in a way that you feel is not just right.
And then you'll be able to
And then you won't be able to complain. So you need to just know that Nigeria is for every one of us, and as much as we have men already in the legislative and in position of power, you also need to take up the step. You also need to step up and know that it is your right. It is your right to also be there. It's not something.
It's not a privilege.
It's not a privilege.
It is a right.
Yes.
Okay, so women, you've heard it this morning. It is your right to also contest. It is your right to hold political position. It is not a favor. And so women should begin to get that into their heads. So equity and equality, I know it's still a big deal, especially in a patriarchal society such as ours. But I guess we'll deal with that when we get to the bridge. Thank you so much, Obadare Adenekan, UN SDSN-Youth Regional Officer for Africa, for finding time to be on the program. We
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you
your
very
thoughts.
much. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When the conversation returns, Joy, lonely at the top. Joy, it'll be Joy's turn to take you through her conversation.